All right, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck. Welcome aboard once again for another flight in Aerosoft's beautiful CRJ. And as you can probably tell, maybe not if you're a little bit familiar with airports, but we are parked today in Vancouver, British Columbia. So we are going to be enjoying this spectacular airplane with some absolutely spectacular scenery. So climb aboard with me. We're going to have a little bit of fun and welcome everyone once again to the stream. Ben, good morning. How's it going? I see you there. Unfortunately, my chat window is behind me, so I'm going to probably miss the chats initially when you guys are trying to chat. So my apologies if I miss any messages, but I will do my best always to interact with you guys as we go here. So today's flight, we are going to do something pretty spectacular today. I felt like this airplane with the kind of with the beauty of this airplane, it deserves beautiful scenery. So today we are going to be doing a flight from Vancouver down to Kelowna in British Columbia. So a pretty short flight. I believe it's about 45 minutes of airtime. I got my flight plan over here on the other page here, but it's not a long flight. It is 40 minutes en route time today, supposedly climbing up to flight level 290. That's probably going to be for about 3 minutes in cruise at that rate. This is FS Dream Team's Vancouver. When we get to Kelowna, you're going to see FSimStudios Kelowna, both of which are beautiful sceneries. And both of which are very affordable. I think the sale is still going on right now. I believe FS Dream Team Vancouver is on sale as their spring sale. I think you have to put in spring 2021 as their code or something, get 35% off, and it's only $10 to begin with. This is one of the things that I'm really loving about FS Dream Team right now and Microsoft Flight Simulator in general, is that a lot of the traditional big names are really offering their products at a substantially lower price than they did in the past. Not even a substantial discount. Like, this is their base price is $10, and you can even save 35% on that if you do it during their spring sale, which I think is still going on. Ditto for FSimStudios Kelowna. It's on sale. I believe it's 40% off at the Orbeck store right now, which makes it, I think, 11 Australian dollars. So between the two of those, fantastic scenery, beautiful airports to fly between. You can do this flight in 40 minutes in a jet. You know, even in a slower turboprop, you can do it in an hour and a half. Some beautiful scenery on the way to enjoy Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I highly encourage you to pick those up. I'm glad that FS Dream Team has really kind of got on board with this. We're gonna charge less than we used to. FSimStudios seems to be on with it a little bit, but FS Dream Team has basically cut their prices by like 70%, whereas most of the other developers are cutting it more like 30%, which is still. I like the idea of let's try and mass market it more. Let's see if we can get more people into the hobby, more people on these simulators and picking up more sceneries. And it comes down to as well, like, what's important to different pilots. There's so much scenery out there already in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's just like, it's overwhelming. Every day there's another airport released, and at $30 a pop, like, this adds up really quick. And if it's your home airport and one you're going to fly into and out of a lot, sure, $30 is worth it. But if it's one of those ones where, like, yeah, it's a nice airport, I'd like to fly there once or twice, but you're not going to fly there every day, you're not necessarily going to get your $30 worth. So I'm glad to see that sort of people, the developers, are sort of kind of shifting down a little bit in the pricing model. Don't think the airplanes are going to necessarily work out the same way, but certainly the scenery seems to be working out that way. And the other thing I wonder too, and maybe if any scenery developers are out there can tell me this, but it seems to me like developing is a little bit easier in Microsoft Flight Simulator than it was perhaps in P3D. Maybe that's just my impression. Maybe you guys are just so experienced you make it look easy, but the sheer volume of releases that are coming out in fairly short order, and even some of the freeware stuff that I found out there. There's a great website that has a whole ton of freeware airports from the province of Quebec. This guy, since Microsoft Flight Simulator has released probably about 40 different freeware airports, and they're not spectacular. There's no Vancouvers. These are all smaller airports, but still, for a guy who's doing this as a hobby, just in his free time making some airports in Quebec, to be able to create this many airports in fairly short order, it makes me wonder, like, is the SDK, is the ability to create scenery easier in Microsoft Flight Simulator than it was in the prepared world? I wonder, because it seems like lots of scenery is coming out in very short order. But regardless, like, still, this FS Dream Team scenery looks great. Look at the whole airport here. It looks very, the texturing all looks great. It doesn't really look blocky or, you know, it's hard to see where the sort of the models and the textures sort of end and start. Look at the ramp right underneath the airplane. Tons of oil stains and everything on there, and that's what the real world looks like. This stuff gets spilled on there all the time, and nobody cleans it up. That's for sure. So it just sits there and stains the pavement. So that looks pretty good as well. The one thing that somebody did note, and I kind of see it as well, is that outside of the gate where we're at, the scenery is a little bit sparse on the clutter, on the details. Just vehicles and empty, baggage trains sitting around and things like that. A little bit empty on that. The buildings are there. The buildings look great. Just a little bit empty on sort of the details of stuff that just would be left lying around an airport waiting to be used. So it's not perfect, but it really is quite nice. It certainly sets the tone, sets the mood, and it's going to be a beautiful morning here in Vancouver. So before we do anything else, of course, we've got the door open. One thing we need to do is get the jet bridge going here. So I'll just using Pushback Express, and I have to say that now that we have a proper airliner in Microsoft Flight Simulator, Pushback Express suddenly has become worthwhile. For a long time, I just didn't feel like it was worthwhile. And nothing against FS2 crew, but because the airliners were, I wasn't really flying the airliners much at all because the airliners were frankly pretty junky. Says, okay, it's going to get a little closer. So I was flying mostly GA airplanes, so it had very little use to me at that point. However, now that I'm flying an airliner on a regular basis, all of a sudden the Pushback Express has become a lot more of a useful tool. And I'm going to do a revised review of it at some point because they did add voice control, and the voice control is nice. It has a problem with the CRJ, and this is, I think, just because of the way both of these airplanes are interacting with the interface. So I'm not going to try and blame FS2 crew for that. But there is a minor glitch with it, and I will show you that as we go through this. So let's go ahead and hop in the flight deck, and we've got the cold and dark flight deck today here. I just activated the iPad just to turn on, just to do some stuff, but let's get this party started here. And if I can just give me 1 second, let me just find my checklist wherever I did put it. There we are. So we have to do our safety inspection checklist. Before we do anything else in the airplane, we have to do our safety inspection checklist. And this is basically kind of a read and do checklist. So circuit breakers closed, so you would have a quick look behind you and the FO at all the different circuit breakers there. Make sure that none of them are out. And the dude who did the CRJ tutorials had a great suggestion. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes when you're looking at a circuit breaker panel head on, but when you step in the flight deck, if you just sort of look right down each side like this, and I don't know if I can turn my head enough like this that I can do it, but if you were to stand anyways on the side like this and look down the panel, then you can see if any are popped out. So anyways, circuit breaker's closed, nose wheel steering switch is off, hydraulic pumps are all off, landing gear is down, flight spoiler lever is closed, slat flaps are set to up, radar, and we have two of them actually in this airplane, so make sure they're both off. Both the captains and the FO side are off. ADG manual release, let's just get rid of the armrest. Yep, that's stowed. And emergency flap switch normal, it's normal. And then we can go battery master switch on. We see we get the basic information here, and then we can go ahead and just turn on the GPU, which is already here in use, and that starts to activate all of our screens. Everything comes on, and we can also verify through the electrical page that everything is working here. We've got 114 volts, 401 hertz, 6 kilovolt amps being drawn from external AC power, so that is all working the way it should. And then let's see here. So APU we're not going to require today. AC electrics are checked. IRS is to nav. They're both to nav. They'll start aligning now. Emergency equipment we would check. So check the fire extinguisher, check the crash axe, check the smoke hood. Anything that you need, I believe in here would be the escape rope. So if you hop out of here, there'd be a rope so that you can climb down the front of the airplane. Life vests, all that stuff. Flashlights. Make sure you have all of your emergency equipment. Gear and safety pins, of course. Let's see. I don't even know where they go in this airplane, but they're stowed somewhere in the flight deck, so the pilots can see the fact that they're in the flight deck, and therefore they're not in the gear. Airplane documents, of course, have a look through the logbook and everything else. We don't have a logbook in the virtual plane, so be it. Hydraulic pump 3A on off. So apparently hydraulic pump 3A is on at all times while we're powered up. And if we go to the hydraulic page, if I can, where's the hydraulic page? There we go. Can't read from far away. You'll see that it's up at 3,000 psi. FMS initialization, we're going to complete that in a second, and then cabin inspection and external walk around. So for the cabin inspection, one thing we are going to do is just test the emergency light system as well, and what you would do with the real airplane, as well as verifying. We need the status page. If I can stand still long enough to click on it, emergency lights on. And what you would also do is you would obviously, the flight deck door would be open for most of the startup process. You could also look down the hall and make sure that all the emergency lights came on in the airplane properly. And then you can put it back into armed mode, and that gets rid of all the messages there. Alright, so we got that. We can go ahead and clear these. Then we would, of course, go out and do the walk around. We're not going to do too much of a walk around today, but again, if you get a chance, the dude did an excellent tutorial. Aerosoft has featured it as their featured tutorial of how to start up this airplane, and he did a fantastic job and literally walked around the whole airplane with the camera view and showed you all the things that you need to check for as you're doing the walk around. So we're not going to do that, of course. We're going to send the FO out to do the walk around, and we're going to do all the setup inside. And while we're here, we can do a couple of things. We can call for the fuel truck, because I want to show you something really neat I learned. As well, we can call for baggage to be boarded and even catering. So I'm doing all these things in my FS2 Crew Pushback Express window. And so there goes the baggage loader. And in order for this to work as well, or at least to look realistic, I should probably open the door. And I clicked on catering. He's not here yet, and I don't know where the fuel truck is coming from, so I'm going to just give it a couple of seconds to see if the fuel truck shows up. But the catering truck is right there. There he goes. Okay, now he's moving. And I'll click on fuel truck one more time here. And I want to show you something neat with the fuel truck when it shows up. So here comes the catering guy. He's going to come around to the front service door. Oh, there's the fuel truck, I think. Is he coming closer or is he going away? I can't tell. Is he going to turn this way or not? Because I may have clicked it too many times and I may have sent him away. So we'll see what he does in a second. Anyway, so we can go ahead and open the service door for catering. So one thing that I like this airplane a lot. One thing I miss is having FS2 Crew to add some interactivity to make it believable that this is... Yeah, I think he's turning around now and coming back this way. I think. Maybe not. I think he's driving down the roadways. I think that's what he's doing, isn't it? Yeah, he's driving down the roadways. Nice. Yeah, one thing I miss about FS2 Crew from the P3D world is just the sensation of interactivity. You hear people getting on and you hear things... people talking to you. I miss that kind of thing, so it's a little bit sad, disappointing, but what can you do? I'm sure FS2 Crew will eventually come to this, but it takes away the airline immersion right now. So let's go ahead and hop in the FMS here. So we got our database. First of all, we did our first update, so the Navigraph update was successful. It looks like all the data was successfully imported into the Aerosoft CRJ with the latest Aerosoft update, so that, or with the latest Navigraph update, so that appeared to work, which is great. Let's set our position, and we are in CYVR. Alright, so we've got our position initialized, and let's go ahead. I just want to have a look again outside. Catering's done. Fuel truck is just coming. There he is, he's just coming. Alright, let's see here. So what was I going to do here? So we've got the position initialized, and what we can do is go into we can go into flight plan. Actually, what I want to do here, yeah, let's do this. Let's do CYVR. Let's put it just the origin and destination first. Oops. CYLW. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into, I believe it's under Index, Route Menu, and Pilot Route List. And I don't have it loaded in here. Here's a list of all the flight plans I've downloaded so far. But what you can do is you can use the SimBrief downloader. So here's the SimBrief downloader. This is little piece of software from SimBrief that just lets you directly download your various types of flight plans directly into the correct folder for your various add-ons, and you can configure the folder that you like. So for the Aerosoft CRJ, here it is, and there's a lot more formats than this. You can actually all the different formats you can have. If you've never seen this before, you can activate any format for an aircraft type that you have. Otherwise, I hide the inactive ones, so I just see the ones that I have. Hide any unselected formats. So these are just the ones that I would have. And then you can define where. So by default, SimBrief should find your installation, but for the Aerosoft CRJ, I find it didn't know where to put it. So I had to do it. This is the folder is users, your username, app data, roaming, and then it's Microsoft Flight Simulator, packages, and then Aerosoft CRJ and work. So again, it's here. Microsoft. If you're in roaming, it's Microsoft Flight Simulator, packages, Aerosoft, CRJ, and work. And it depends too on whether you have the Steam or the Microsoft Store version. I have the Steam version, so this is the path of the Steam version. Fuel truck, where did you go? I swear you were here. Where did you go? Anywho, so yeah, so you can click download with that particular file. So download. And it's now downloaded my CYVR CYLW, my current flight plan in SimBrief. This is it here, Jazz 8414. And then, I may not find it now. Let's go back to the route menu, and let's go pilot route list again. Oh, good. Okay, so every time you load this, it does load it up again. So here's my flight plan, CYVR CYLW, load plan. And it says route loaded. Bada boom, bada bing. This is a really short route, so there's really no point to doing this today other than just showing you guys the fact that it does work. Who's Rob? Is he the FO? Yeah, Rob's the FO. He's out doing the walk around in the rain. So now if we go to flight plan, you'll see that... What? Oh, it said route loaded. Apparently didn't load the route. I've used this before and it has worked. I'm going to try it one more time here. CYVR CYLW, route loaded. Okay. So why did it not go in there? Because I've done it before. I've made it work before. Oh, now the fuel truck's here. I love how it pops up the fuel menu when the fuel truck arrives. There, the fuel truck's hooked up. Okay, so I'll come back to fix that in a second. But one thing that I did discover, again, watching the dude's videos, and this was quite useful, is if you have the camera views here, and I don't use these because I have track IR most of the time, but there are a number of instrument views down here in your cockpit view. If you go to instrument view number 7, something I did not know existed in the CRJ flight deck was an interior fuel control panel. You can actually control how much fuel is going into the airplane here in the flight deck. So you power on the system's on, you can do a lamp test to make sure all the lamps work properly. And you can open up all your shutoff valves to load fuel in all the tanks, and then you can set your quantity for your flight and it will load it automatically to that quantity. So if I pull up my flight plan, 8,200 pounds today, so you've just got to, I don't think you can hold it to increase. No, you got to just keep on flicking it, unfortunately, so it's a little annoying. In the real world, I think you would just hold it there and it would just continue to increase until you reach the one you want, but increase it till we get what we need, which is 8,200. Right, close enough. Fuel is on auto, so it's going to stop when it gets to this point. The shutoff valves are all open. We turn this on, and now you'll notice that they're all open, and the fuel values are increasing, and they're going to keep on increasing until we get to the total that we want. You can now step away from this, and it'll just keep on working while you're setting up the rest of the flight deck. So really neat. I had no idea that existed in the CRJ, but you can actually fuel the airplane in a somewhat realistic manner. And again, if we go back now to my normal point of view, and I unpause my track IR, you can see that the fuel load is increasing in tandem with the fuel control panel back there. So it is actually working, and it is loading fuel into the airplane as we go. So I thought that was super neat. I had no idea that existed. I was just using this to automatically send the full fuel to the airplane. So I thought that was great. Yeah, I'm not sure why this isn't working, because this worked for me other times when I did it. So really annoying. Of course, go figure, when you go to do a stream, it doesn't work properly. But it should work in theory, and I don't know why it's not working today. And I don't know why I keep doing it, because it's obviously not making any difference whatsoever. So, anywho, today's flight plan is really super simple anyways. The other thing I could try to do, CYVR, is try and type it in there. I'm going to try this one more time, and then I'm going to give up on this. Nope, load error. Okay, so it didn't like something. Okay, fine. You know what? So be it. We'll just do this manually. So our alternate today, keeping this going, is CYVR. I'm just going to pause my track IR down here. There we go. CYVR. I don't even know what we're going to use for a runway here in Vancouver this morning. Let's see here. Winds are out of the east, so I guess we're going to use 08 right. And the flight number is already in there. Must have done something right. Anyway, so departure, we're going to do the Vancouver 1 off of 8 right. And then we go to, I believe we do Janik and then CCAB. Hold on. Stop that. Sometimes I hate the mouse wheel. Yeah, Janik and CCAB. So really super simple flight plan today. So we go to Janik, we go to CCAB, and then we join the arrival already at CCAB. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip straight to this. Arriving into Kelowna. See, I feel like it loaded it into my secondary flight plan somehow. CCAB 4. And I don't know what we're going to do into Kelowna. Winds are out of the northeast, so we may be doing the RNAV to runway 34, which is really kind of neat. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the RNAV for 34. I believe it's the AMBAT transition, and we'll see how well this works. I don't have a whole lot of faith that it's going to work very well, because it's a very complicated approach, and I may have to take over and hand fly a bit of it. So let's go into legs mode here and just see, yeah, CCAB. So we just got to take this CCAB and move it up in front of the discontinuity here. So get rid of it. So it is Janik direct to CCAB, and then we join the arrival. And that's it. Our FMS is all set up already. Done. Let's see. So now we can go to, see, and I wonder, secondary flight plan. See, my flight plan's in there. It's in secondary somehow, though. So I could activate the secondary flight plan and it would do it. Okay, so it did work. Weird. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead with the perf in it now. And we can steal this air information, passenger weight, cargo weight, ZFW, all from our tablet here. So let's just steal this here. Performance. And how many people are we supposed to have today? I don't even know how many people we're supposed to have here. We're supposed to have 67, so we're going to pump this up. 62, 67. And we're going to do that. So we'll set the payload in the simulator. Did that change my fuel load as well? It did not. Good. Okay, so it set the payload, but it did not change the fuel load. Love it. Perfect. Let's init fuel from the aircraft. Perfect. Copy performance init data to the FMS. So I'm just lazy. I'm frankly just lazy sometimes. It didn't seem to work. Try it again. I find some of these buttons don't work the first time. Why am I not getting anything here? That's weird. Something's going on with this airplane today because it worked every other time I've done this. So guess we're doing it this way. 67 people. And for cargo, we got to add these two up. 975 plus 260, that's 1175, 1235. Okay, so we got our ZFW. Today's cruise altitude today per the flight plan is going to be 29,000 feet. So this is something as well I learned from the dude. You can put in FL 290. You can't just put in just 290. You have to put in the FL if you want a flight level. To come back to Vancouver as our alternate, we need flight level 280. Flight level 280. There we go. So that's page 1 setup. Page 2, we can just put in the average winds just to give ourselves a more accurate fuel estimate. 341 at 75 according to my flight plan. So 341 at 75. Of course, the ironic thing is that we're going to be at cruise for a very small amount of time, and the temperature deviation today is -8. So you can, if the first time you click the plus minus button, it gives you a plus. Just click it a second time to get the -8. Execute that. It'll think about that, and we could put in our taxi fuel. I think the 220 is a pretty reasonable taxi fuel for this airplane. The last thing you can do on the perf page here is make sure you set a flex temp. If you want a flex temp anyways, so I set 46 degrees. Seems to work most of the time. These are long runways here in Vancouver, so it shouldn't be an issue. Alright. We're going to do our originating flow. Our FMS is all set up, so originating flow here. Let's see. So we got battery master on, DC services off, GPUs on, IDGs are all connected. All the generators are in auto mode. That all looks good. Fire detection monitor, push and hold. We should get the fire warnings, and we should also get the bottle armed green lights there. Pull it out or release it anyways, and everything goes away again. The shutoff valves are not illuminated. I should have turned the nav lights on as soon as we started boarding here. Beacon, we don't need. Logo, we don't need because it's kind of daylight time anyways. We don't need any of the other lights. Fuel, we've got the pumps are off and everything else is in automatic mode for now. Bleeds, we've got normal feed, auto control of the bleed valves, both engines and open. That's all good. The APU will start in a minute here. None of the starter lights are illuminated. Continuous lights not illuminated. Hydraulics. Now we can test the hydraulics. So let's turn off 3A for a moment here. Let's turn on the other 3 pumps and make sure all 3 other pumps function. They should be giving us 3,000 PSI, all of them. They do. So let's put them down to auto. And that should drop the pressure in all of our systems. And then we put 3A back to on. And that one will come back up again to 3,000 PSI pretty quickly. Cabin pressurization. What's the field elevation in Kelowna? Does anyone know offhand? I can look it up here on my charts anyways, so that's what I'm going to do apparently. Kelowna, open charts list. I feel like it's 1400-ish or something. 1370, yeah, I was pretty close. 1400. So, what we can do is we've got to set our field elevation. And bonjour and good morning to, I can't even read that, it's in dark gray on black, Kegid Cook. Welcome aboard. We're going to be doing a flight to Kelowna, so hop aboard. We got to set our landing elevation here to 1200, so let's go ahead and do that. Oop, 1300, I guess. I find some of these things, it's just easier to just, if you're doing the scroll wheel too much, especially on a small knob, you end up zooming in and out way more than you need to. So I find for a lot of these knobs, click and hold actually works better. Alright, that's good. Let's see here. We're in automatic pressure control mode. The dump valve's not out. The main rate's at full decrease, and that's in neutral. Air conditioning packs, we can turn them on. They're not going to do anything because there's no air pressure yet. But we can turn on the recirc fan. That'll be nice. We don't need the ram air unless something fails. We don't need manual mode for the temperature controllers. Everything's in auto. We don't need to condition the cargo areas. Anti-ice we don't need. We can test the ice detect system though. Push it once to get an ice detect message and you should get ADS heat test okay. Windshield heat should go to low for a warm-up while we're on the ground. And miscellaneous lights, we don't need any of those. ELT is armed. We did check that. We were supposed to check that already. We've already started fueling. Or we've already finished fueling, I should say. So we can go ahead and get the no smoking passenger seatbelt sign on, and the emergency lights are armed. Whew, lots of stuff to do here. Let's just check the oxygen over here. One thing I never really noticed, and they did point out, the Skycam does work. You can turn it on, and you can see a picture of the outside of the flight deck door there. I don't know if anything else works on this. Nope. The day-night mode works, and that's it. But it's there. We don't need any lighting. Let's see here. Actually, before we do that, we should come across the glare shield, make sure everything's set up here. Just test the stall system, so we hold that up. Press stall, you'll see it pushes forward, and also the continuous ignition light automatically comes on during a stall. And now that's gone off as well. All the other lights have gone off. It's good. Set our departure for Vancouver. We need 7,000 for an altitude initially on the Vancouver 1. If you're not sure, read the chart. I know it because I'm a controller in Vancouver now, so I've seen it many times. But if in doubt, read the chart. Let's see here, 08, I want to say it's 083, but that I'm going to have to go look at. Oops, wrong way. So 08. Oops, too far. And it might say it here on the likes page too. It does, 083, there it is, 083 headings. Okay, so 83 is set, and speeds we would have to get from here. Again, I could look at my performance table, but I'm lazy. I'm going to use the button Aerosoft provided today. 29, 30, 40, and 91. 29, 30, 40, and 91. And we set to V2 plus 10 for our speed bug initially, so our speed bug set to 150. And that's all set in there. We can just bring up the bars with the go around button. And now we've got takeoff ready to go. Coming onto the side panel, wiper is off, the stall pusher system is on, nose wheel steering is disarmed right now, we don't need any lighting. Altimeter in Vancouver's 3022. I hate you sometimes. You stupid scroll wheel. And with track IR it can be really deadly, because if you even move your eyeballs just enough that you've imperceptibly moved your head as you're trying to look at something else, boom, your mouse is off the knob, and instead of turning the knob, you're zooming again. 3022. Alright, so the nav source is in FMS, and we've got, let's see, we've got map mode here. The range is good. We might even zoom in just a little bit here. Traffic is on. Something else, again, I noticed the dude taught me. There's little tiny dashes. I don't know how well you can see them, but there's little tiny spikes all around this 10-mile arc. Only when traffic mode is on. If traffic mode's off, those spikes disappear. So make sure those spikes are there if you want traffic targets on your MFD. Nav source is good, and we've got the speeds already set. We've got the altimeter set and norm on the MFD switch. MFD selector. Press and hold for 5 seconds to test the cockpit voice recorder. You'll see a green light. That means the cockpit voice recorder should be working properly. Alright, almost ready. Coming across here, no flags, everything looks good. We've just got the flight director flag, but that'll go away once we start this airplane up. We can turn off the anti-skid to make sure we get our warning light, and then turn it on to test it. When the warning lights go off, the caution lights go off, then it's tested properly. Test the main landing gear overheat, and the main overheat fail detector. Engine sync, normally we use N1 to sync. We could test the lamps in the flight deck, so all the light bulbs in the flight deck, make sure everything lights up that should. And if any bulbs were out, you could call maintenance and say, hey, how many mechanics does it take to change a light bulb? I kid. If anybody out there is really in it, is a real AME, I kid. I appreciate all the work you guys do. It's just, I just mean it in fun. Yeah, all I want to do is turn the knob, and I'm doing nothing but zooming. All right, so this is the ground lift is auto. The thrust reversers currently are off. The spoilers are stowed. Let me make sure that my Throttle quadrant, it is about at my idle reverse position. No reverse position. Slats and flaps are up. 22.8 for Unicom, 2,000 for the ATC. The only thing I'm going to do is change. Oops, no, not that. I'm going to just. Nope, not that. That's what I'm trying to do. Turn off the below mode right now. I just want above. There we go. Alright, radios, we got COM1 dialed in, that's all we really need. We don't need the radar on. And we don't need the transponder on just yet. Make sure we turn on the stab trim and the mock trim. All of our systems are normal. The FMS is nav. We got the parking brake on. We could test the flight deck door if we needed to. We should also be testing the trims. The one thing I find with testing these trims, though, is that I have a hard time then recentering them. Now that I can pop this out, that might be easier. So let's just test the trims and make sure that the switch does work. I do like that they turn green when they're in the right spot. Love that it turns green when it's in the right spot. Let's check the aileron trim. Yep. Oh, it's so finicky though, the aileron trim especially. Actually, it just keeps on going, doesn't it? That's why it's so finicky. You're supposed to have to move both of these switches. Interesting. I never noticed that, but that's why it's so finicky. It's only supposed to move when both of these switches are moved, but it seems to move even when one of them is moved. There we go. Alright, that's why it's so finicky. I always wondered why I couldn't get that to work. You're supposed to move both these switches together, and only when both switches are moving does the aileron trim move, but it seems that the way Aerosoft set it up, probably just by mistake, moving one of them moves the aileron trim. That's why I could never get to work. Lighting we don't need. Yaw damper is on. We could test the PA and the chime. Don't think it actually does anything, but we could actually test it. And all of our reversionary switches are normal. Landing gear, ADG releases are all in, and flap is normal. Okay, and we are done all of our originating checks here, so we can go ahead with a quick departure briefing, and this is going to be quick because it's fairly simple here. So this is Kelowna because I was looking that up. Let's go back to CYVR and do a really quick departure briefing. So we're parked here at gate, I believe, 42 or 41. There it is. So we're parked somewhere right about here. Should be working. Thinking about it. Yep, there it is. So we're going to push back, and for departure 8 right, it's pretty straightforward. We're just going to taxi straight down Lima to Lima 4, and cross runway 13 is the only hot spot. Just make sure we're aware of that, looking both ways before we cross the runway. Our departure off of 8 right is going to be on the Vancouver 1 departure, 10-3 Delta. This is effective on the 5th of November of 2020. Non-jet aircraft do not exceed 165 knots and climb until contact with departure control. Safe altitude with 100 miles is 12,800 jets. Use noise abatement procedures 1 or 2. We're going to use 2. And refer to 10-4 noise abatement procedures. Basically, it says no turns below 3,000 feet. And as you can see, it's just a straight out runway heading. Runway 08 right or left, heading 083 or as assigned by ATC, and maintain 7,000 as assigned. Expect radar vectors to file or assigned route and clearance of flight plan altitude 5 minutes after departure. So heading 083 until we get vectored on course, 7,000 the top altitude. We've got 083 set right here and 7,000 feet set, so that's all good. Terrain is obviously high terrain north and eventually east of the field, so if anything happens, we need to start turning back towards the south to fly over Vancouver Sound. Weather looks like a beautiful day. I'm pretty sure I have live weather on. Yeah, I do. It's just a beautiful day in Vancouver. Sometimes when you see a clear sky, you're not sure if it's just you forgot to turn on the live weather, but no, it's on. And I think that's it. Operational, everything's working on this airplane. I've got no major NOTAMs, I think, affecting us today. Let's just have a quick look at these NOTAMs on the screen here. Anything interesting? Runways 8 right, takeoff 8 right, not authorized for low vis, that's fine. And nothing about the SIDS, so yeah, nothing there at all. And we got the fuel we need, that's it. I think we're just about ready to go. So let's do the before start check. Passenger signs panel is on. Landing elevation 1,300 feet is set. Altimeters, we're showing about 20 feet maybe. Yeah, it looks pretty consistent between the two. FMS is checked and set, and IRSs are aligned, showing the location here. So they are aligned. They are in nav mode, and radios and nav aids. Again, we got Unicom. It's basically all we need today. I don't see any ATC coming online. Unfortunately, I was hoping to do this during some ATC, but so be it. And takeoff briefing is complete. The before start check is complete. All right, we are ready to go. I think all the boarding is done. The one thing actually we're not ready for yet is didn't start the APU yet. So let's get that starting. So it's running its APU in byte built-in test, and now the door is open when the test ends. We can go ahead and start it. And yep, there you go. We got RPMs rising, EGTs rising, and if you go to the back end, you can hear it a little bit. It's faint, but you can hear it. And if I do move the camera closer, I think you will hear it more and more. You can hear it pretty well actually now. Don't want to be standing here too much now. I wonder if they modeled the exhaust plume out of here. We'll let it finish firing up. In the meantime, let's close some doors. Cargo doors we no longer need. Service door we no longer need. We do need the APU for one or two more seconds here. Because I know they have the exhaust plumes coming out of the engines, but it looks like they have not modeled the exhaust plume out of the APU. Because we are fully open here, 97, 98, 99%, 100%. 2, 3, it looks like it's auto switched here, so we can go ahead and get these guys to disconnect the GPU. And now you can hear the pack spooling up very quietly in the background there. No, it doesn't look like the exhaust plume is molded all out of the APU, which is a bit of a shame. Just be one more level of immersion, but I mean, out of all the things they do, you know, I'm nitpicking the small things here, really. Okay, so we got that. We can go ahead and retract the jet bridge. Takes a second for it to retract the canopy, and there it goes. And then as soon as we've done that, then we can close the door. Still got the chocks in as well. I noticed that, so we can go ahead and remove the chocks because we got the parking brake on, and that's basically it. Alright, so I can engage my FS2 crew. We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
Alright, stand by. Alright, cleared to start check. Personal electronic devices are off. APU is on. Electrics checked. Yep, we got the APUs providing all of our electrical power that we need. Takeoff data is set. Doors are all closed and locked. Beacon on. Fuel pumps on. Hydraulics auto on, and parking brake is off. Brakes released.
Pushing back.
See, now in the real world, of course, you would never release the brake until the tug was actually connected, but I think this is just the way Microsoft Flight Simulator works. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do with it, so. So he's going to connect to us here, and one thing I've noticed is that it's often a little bit off-center too when it connects, although this one looks like it's a little bit off-center, yeah. So there's a few things that need to be worked out. I've noticed a few of the vehicles don't quite totally line up properly, and then they suddenly jump. In a second, it'll suddenly jump to be lined up here as it stops. It'll jump when it connects to the airplane, and then it's connected. The nice thing is I do have rudder steering capabilities, so I can actually control my pushback here. I can go left or right. So Pushback Express can make this very easy process. While we're trying to do this here, alright, probably right about there, we'll start the turn. And then we'll go ahead and start engine number 2. And there it goes. Yeah, exactly. Let's get the nice stuff. Let's get the important stuff done before we worry too much about the little stuff. All right, so we're probably at 20% here. Oh, perfect timing. So let's go ahead and grab this and move it forward. And we should see it continue to rise. And it's not too bad. I can't really control the radius. It's either just sort of turn or not. Stop, push back.
Pushback complete. Set parking brakes, please.
Alright, so this is Pushback Express. This is the one thing that Pushback Express will not do now. Starts looking pretty good here. Is that I can't re-engage the parking brake. No matter how many times I click it, I don't know. I hope you guys can see it. It sort of starts to pop out, but then it never pops out. Brake set. And see, because I can't pull it out, brake set. Brake set. Yeah, so he'll never go in advance, so I actually have to just terminate the pushback altogether. And I think this is just the way the Aerosoft CRJ, because as soon as he's gone, I can re-engage the parking brake. So there's something with the way FS2 Crew's Pushback Express and the CRJ do not play nicely with that parking brake. So not the end of the world. A minor little glitch, but the rest of the voice control works pretty effectively, so I hope they'll come up with a fix for that at some point. Alright, so we got a normal start on number 2. Let's just quickly do the check here. So we switch off both boost pumps, and we should make sure we do get the left fuel low pressure light on there. We do. And then we'll put them back on, and it's gone again. Okay, we can start engine 1. And he's gone. Got rotation of N2. Oil pressure starting to rise. Yeah, and that Pushback Express, it works fine with all the default airplanes. You can usually set the parking brake, but there's something with the way the parking brake is coded in the Aerosoft CRJ that is incompatible with that. It's incompatible with that Pushback Express system. So, you know, minor little things, and again, like developers doing different things, and not necessarily. I don't expect them to communicate per se, but they're not communicating with each other, and so the little tricks that they're trying to apply to make the sim do what they want are working against little tricks other people have done. So a minor flaw in the whole process, but that definitely is a lot smoother than trying to use the default pushback methods. Alright, looks like we're just about got a normal start here. And I'm hoping that FS2 Crew and Aerosoft will kind of get together and figure out what's gone on there and how to fix it. Okay, so the yaw damper's still off. Why is the yaw damper still off? I swear I turned it on. There it is, it's good. Alright, so we got a good start. So let's go ahead and just verify, first of all, the electric page that we did get the power transfer. And the APU is putting out nothing, so we can go ahead and shut that down. So we'll let that shut down. We'll go ahead and get the probes on. We're not going to need the anti-ice. Let's get the flaps going to 8. Nose wheel steering. Let's go back to the stat. Actually, let's leave it there for a second. After start check. Generators auto and electrics are checked. Bleed valves are auto. Packs are on. And you could also check it on the ECS page as well. I'm not sure if you should be checking it on the ECS page or on the just on the panels, but we do have the packs are green and the bleed valves are open. APU is at 0, so we can go ahead and close, power the system down, which will close the door. Anti-ice, we've got probes, no engine or wing anti-ice, and nose wheel steering is armed. After start checklist is complete, and before we go anywhere, let's just quickly do the flight control check because it's easier to do it while you're stationary. Elevators, ailerons, and rudder, because then you're not doing a rudder test while you're trying to taxi. Flight control check's complete, parking brake off, and away we go. And she's moving almost without even adding any thrust. And let's get that taxi light on. Make a little radio call. Oh, and what we didn't do is we didn't get the transponder on. There's a transponder. Doesn't always work with vPilot. Vancouver traffic, good morning, and Jazz 8414 is taxiing from the terminal for departure, runway 08 right northeastbound. Alright, so taxiing around that. See, and these are some of the buildings too. Like, the buildings are great. The buildings all look really good, and the textures look really good. But one big disadvantage, again, you would think there'd be things leaning against buildings, stuff stored outside at an airport. Yeah, I had a friend who was using a different freeware pushback system, and he couldn't get it to work with the CRJ to save his life. So yeah, up until now, I haven't really seen much point.
Traffic. Good morning, Jazz 822. We're turning left base for the ILS approach, runway 08 right at 3,000 feet. Vancouver traffic.
Oh, someone's turning final for 08 right. So, yeah, that's the one thing that, like, until now, I haven't seen much point in Pushback Express. But again, it's because I haven't really flown the airliners in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I really just default airliners really just suck. They really suck. So, but now that I've started flying this airplane, all of a sudden Pushback Express has become a super useful tool. All right, clear to cross runway 1331 and clear left and right. And we're going to have to see if we can spot this guy turning final here. I don't see him, and usually traffic's pretty easy to spot out there. The lights show up fairly nicely, especially at night. In the daytime, maybe not quite as bright, but... Alright, we're clear of the runway, strobe off. Let's do the taxi check really quick. Slat flaps, we got 8 set. Flight controls are checked. Trims, oh, I didn't set the trim actually. And it's also here on the performance page. Takeoff trim 7.7, so... Whoops, wrong way. 7.7 and 00. Thrust reversers, that's one thing I didn't do. Armed. Flight instruments checked, everything's up, takeoff, flight director looks good, no flags, and brake temp check. Taxi check is complete. Alright, and let's see how we're doing here. I still don't see him. I'm going to give him a second here, and then we'll make a radio call. Yes, actually, I have done the fly-by-wire A320 a bit, and that is a good airplane, and I do like that airplane. For some reason, I just haven't felt inclined to use it because there's still quite a few things that don't work well in it. It's a work in progress, and what has been done is great, but I'm not... I don't know. It doesn't quite reach the level of this airplane yet, so... He's 12 miles out. Okay, perfect. So we should be good. Vancouver traffic, Jazz 8414 is taking position now. Runway 8 right for departure. Alright, so let's get strobe on. And before takeoff checklist, so lights and strobes. We got the strobes on. Fuel cross-flow valve we have to open to manual during takeoff. Flight attendants seats for departure, transponder TCAS should be now TARA, and it is on in the VATSIM network, and that's the important thing. Radar terrain, we're not too worried about radar, and terrain doesn't work in this airplane yet, otherwise we would use it because terrain is a concern around here. And CAS, we got the reversers arm, takeoff config is green, cross flow, and seatbelts and shoulder harnesses, that's all good. And one last thing I'm going to do. This out to a smaller size, but very central here, so it's a little bit easier to see what we're doing. Alright, are we ready, guys? Here we go. Alright, engine stable. Toga. 1100 knots. V1, rotate, and it pretty much rotates itself if you have the trim set correctly. And then hesitates. It's a long airplane too, so you don't want to rotate too quickly after departure. You want to get to 10 degrees and no more until you're sure you're climbing. We do have positive rate, gear up. Take a quick glance back at Vancouver. Ooh, pretty. She's a good airport. Alright, we are pitched way too high here. Alright, there's 1100 feet, so let's get climb power. Let's get the speed mode and then the autopilot on so that I can let it do the work. And then we can go ahead and go flaps 1.
22 Vancouver traffic on a 5-mile final, runway 08 right, Vancouver traffic.
Let's get the speed to 210. Vancouver traffic, Jazz 8414 is airborne off of runway 8 right. Alright, there we go, we're at 2400 feet. Accelerating to 210, we're above the T speed, which means we can get the flaps all the way up, so there's flaps up. And I feel like I'm finally starting to get a hang of this airplane here. Alright, I'll go ahead and close this now. I feel like I can finally actually get this airplane airborne without, like, going absolutely insane. The first few times, it's so quick. Alright, so now we're going to go to Janik. Via direct, we're through 3,000 feet. Execute. Oh, one thing I didn't do is I didn't actually put us in heading mode. I was just still in roll mode. Oh well. Anyways, there's nav mode now. Let's go ahead and get the speed. Keep the speed at 210 for now while we try to figure out our terrain clearance, because there's a lot of high terrain in that direction. What we will do though is we will get the altitude up to our cruise altitude of 290 since there's no ATC to stop us. $29,300. 2, 1. There it is. Flight level 290. That way we don't level off. And we're on our way. There goes Vancouver behind us, and what beautiful scenery. Just fantastic to look out the window and see. And it just looks so good. And this payware scenery blends so well with the rest of the scenery. You don't really see the scenery. You're aware there's quite a few buildings there. The buildings have a little bit of a glow to them. But otherwise, it's so well blended. That's certainly the terrain itself, the airport itself, just the same color, the same kind of the same tones, so that it doesn't stand out like airports did in previous generations of these sims. Alright, we're through about 7,000, so we can probably start accelerating here. Let's go ahead and go to 230 knots, because we're doing pretty good. We're clearing the first levels of the terrain there. What a beautiful morning out here in Vancouver too. Ah, beautiful morning to go and do this and see the scenery. Looks like there's a little bit of cloud out there in the distance, but overall, pretty nice here. Now, why are we turning here? And why are we not really on that line there? See, it seems to be going direct, but it doesn't always draw the lines correctly. Let me just zoom out a little bit here. See, it seems like we're heading more or less towards Janik. Let's see how it works here. Yeah, sometimes this FMS works, and sometimes it doesn't. And it's hard to know what's going to cause it to work or not. Alright, I think it's going to work. Anyways, we're through 10,000, so we can go ahead. We should be clear most of that terrain, so we're going to go ahead and accelerate to 290, which is our normal climb speed.
Vancouver traffic, Jazz 822, vacated 08 right and Delta 3.
And of course, all the time I flip off the autopilot if you move your scroll wheel and you happen to be on the autopilot. 290. Okay, so we got 290 on the speed. So she's accelerating as well. We can get lights off, seatbelts off, so people can get out and go pee if they want. Oh, and taxi light, that's the one I forgot. And away we go. Gaining altitude nice and quickly here. This airplane does like to climb. I will definitely give it that. I think it's going to make it to Janik, but it's sort of a little bit off and is really wandering. This is another thing that kind of bugs me sometimes. She does tend to sometimes and I don't know what the reason is, but occasionally it wanders. Center my heading bug, thank you. And I centered it now because I switched to heading mode for a second here while I'm just trying to get us sort of on course to Janik. And I might just slide in heading mode for a minute or so here because it just doesn't seem to want to quite get there. Let's try it one more time here. There's direct Janik. Let's arm LNAV. Is this going to be... okay. Okay. I think it's going to do okay here. I'm just going to look out the window and enjoy the view a little bit more here, because it is absolutely gorgeous scenery out here. And again, the way like the snow is done as well, like the lower elevations are all kind of green, and then it just sort of it blends. It's blended nicely so that it's not like a sharp sudden here's the snow line, here's no more snow. The blending is done very nicely. Alright, I think it looks a little more steady now, and it looks like we are on course to Janik. Winds from the northwest, so it should be a little bit more left than where we are, I think, but I think she's going to work. I think she's going to fly for us. I hope. It's a great airplane most of the time, but every once in a while you get a flight where just something goes glitchy in it and it won't do anything right the whole time. And unfortunately that happens too often. I hate to say it. And a little bit of turbulence here. A little bit of light chop. Not even enough to make the people seat themselves yet, but we'll see what happens. Now it seems to have found itself. It seems to be flying this track fairly nicely here. It's a little bit off track, I think, but... and, oh, there's transition. Yeah, and I've done so many flights where it's just flown the FMS flawlessly that it's weird when it doesn't, and it frustrates me when it doesn't fly it flawlessly. Because there's no rhyme or reason or consistency to it, which obviously is going to make it very challenging for Aerosoft to try and deal with these issues as well. If different people are having different issues. Some people can make these things work just fine, and some people are having major issues with it. And I think that's part of the reason why in all their documentation initially they said don't call us for support if you haven't done the tutorial exactly as we've written it, because that's the first step, is let's make sure we're all working off the same page and you're doing exactly what we've taught you to do, and then if it's not working, let's talk. So I've noticed that they were very adamant about that. Did you follow the tutorial? Did you follow the tutorial? Of course, that only goes so far, because then, of course, you go somewhere else, you're not going to be following the tutorial, you're not going to be following the same flight plan. So it seems like it's going to be one of those cases where it wants to fly just a little bit right, of course, the whole day. At least it's not that far off course. It's only a mile or two off course, because I've had it be a lot more than a mile. I had one day where it seemed to want to fly about 7 miles south of course the whole day. And I don't know why. Well, not the whole day, but the whole flight. And I don't know why, and it was very frustrating because that put us way off course. We're trying to do an RNAV approach, and that's no good. And that's the thing, is if we're doing an RNAV approach into the mountain today and we are off course, this is not going to go well. We have to maintain that center line pretty accurately on this one today if we're going to do the RNAV to 34, which, judging by the winds in Kelowna, we're going to need to do. Winds are 310 at 13, gust 22. That is a pretty substantial wind. You're not going to want to do that tailwind landing off the ILS. Hopefully at least it's somewhat VMC out there. I see some clouds out to the east. We're going to turn east after we get to CCOB, so hopefully by the time we get to Kelowna, we won't have like an overcast cloud deck where we can't see anything. 'Cause the other thing is just missing the scenery too. This beautiful scenery on this route today. Just not going to quite pass right over Janik. It just wants to fly just a little bit to the side. Like one dot to the side the whole day. Frustrating. Although now it seems to want to turn on course. So it didn't want to turn on course when we were going direct. Somehow the direct was not working properly. But now that we're just past Janik and it's cycled to CCAB, now it's turning aggressively to get us onto the correct track here. So I'm not going to mess with it too much because I really want it to fly the correct tracks later on when we're doing the RNAV approach down through the mountain valleys. But yeah, that's exactly what happened there. So for some reason its direct two-way point, it miscalculated. But then when you got to the on-course, boy, she's really kind of just squirreling around the sky though, isn't she? One thing I will say though, Air Canada has one of the nicest paint jobs now. This modern Air Canada paint job is absolutely fantastic. Very slick, the black, the white, with just a splash of red, a little red on the belly, a little red on the tail. Really, really nice. I really like the new Air Canada paint job. Not a fan of the old one. The toothpaste The toothpaste tube green blue was just absolutely horrible. I hated that paint job. I really did. I thought it was, I don't know who came up with that, but what an ugly paint job. This one is so nice and slick. The black and the white, oh, looks really good. Just looks really formal. But yeah, I really like it. I really think it's a nice paint job now that they've come up with it. And most of the fleet, fortunately, is now repainted. There's only a few airplanes left in the toothpaste green. And now, of course, with budgets being where they are, I don't think anything's going to get repainted for a while, which is ironic because they have the time to repaint them now. One of the problems they had when they introduced this new paint job and they were trying to repaint their entire fleet was they couldn't take enough airplanes offline to paint it in any kind of reasonable pace. She is really wandering here. But that was the one thing was they, a year and a half ago, they were so busy they couldn't afford to take airplanes offline to paint them. So a lot of these planes were flying around with the old paint job for a long time. Now, opposite problem. Now they have nothing but time to paint them, but nobody's got the budget to do it. They're doing their best to save as much money as they can. And painting an airplane is not cheap, especially one that you're painting it purely because you're just trying to update the paint jobs. Alright, here we are. We're 1,000 to go, 280 for 290. And I'm just going to check the flight plan here, pull it up for a second. And what was our cruise Mach number? We were planned at a cruise of Mach decimal 74. Okay, so we're going to just, here comes altitude capture. Of course, this being no auto thrust, we got to do this ourselves. So we'll leave that speed tape right where it is. Alright, but we're going to put the seatbelts back on because, frankly, the turbulence, it's not too bad. Turbulence is a hard thing to judge just by seeing, too. You really have to feel it to judge it. But she's bumpy enough. You know what? Everyone, just go pee. If you have to go pee, but I'm turning the seatbelts back on. Now, of course, with turbulent day, it's going to be that much harder to maintain airspeed accurately. Or even see what the trends are accurately. So we'll try it here at about, what I found I think was 80% was pretty good for maintaining a speed of about 7.4. But we'll see what happens. We'll just have to let it sort of stabilize and average out the trends here because she's bouncing around like crazy. Brr, looks cool down there. Alright, so we go to CCAB and then we start our arrival. So pretty much already we need to start setting up for our arrival into Kelowna because it's a short flight. It's a 40-minute flight. It's not a long flight, which is why I chose it. Oh, if only you knew what pilot said behind closed doors. The switch is commonly known as the turbulence switch because as soon as you turn off the seatbelt sign, that's when the turbulence starts. And as soon as you turn it on again, that's when the turbulence stops. So commonly known in the flight deck as the turbulence switch because it seems to have exactly the opposite impact of what you would hope. Although today it doesn't seem to be working. Today it's still turbulent even after I turn the switch on. Alright, so we're almost at CCAB, and then at CCAB we're going to hook a right turn and we're going to be on the CCAB for our arrival. So, I believe we already set up the RNAV to runway 34. We did. So let's pull up the approach charts here. Because we got to start setting this up already here. And make sure this is all set up here. So, our arrival is the CCAB 4. Our approach is going to be the RNAV to runway 34. RNAV Zulu to runway 34, and it is the AMBAT transition. And let's go to the legs page and just see here. So we got Almam Pilma Vivek. And let's see if I can just move this over a little bit so we can see a little bit better what's going on here. Alright, so Vilmo, then we go to Ambat, and then Gabot, Boldy, Elson. Nope, this is not the right approach. Runway 34 RNAV Zulu, that's the one we're trying to do here. Still the Ambat transition. Alright, we're still in nav mode. Nope. It dropped out of into roll mode, so there's nav again. And I think we're going just a little bit too fast, so we'll just slow that down a little bit. Alright, so now we're back on course. We're going to turn here at CCAB any second now. That turbulence is really making that airspeed jump. Alright, so now after Vilmo, Ambat, then we have, I think this is right here. Yeah, Pendo, Zudvo, Botet, Zubom, then we should have Rakta Savap and Vobak. Rakta Savap and Vobak, runway 34. Okay, good. We've got all those in there, and actually we should also be double checking the altitude. So what I'm going to do here, even with my track IR on, she's really jumpy with the turbulence there. Okay, so we're going to go, I'm just using my remote CDU to control the CDU so that I can see this still here. So Ambat 8000, Pendo, Zudvo max 190 knots, then, and sorry, okay, so 7,000 for Pendo, 5,600 for Zudvo, 5,000 for Botet, 4,400 for Zubom, and then 3,800 to Rakta, save up 3,200, and then Vobak crossing at 2460. No, save up's just considered a fix. That's just a reference fix. And then the missed approach is Otpov and Leaner and Hold at 8,000. Yes, so that's all in there. Great. She's really turning a lot here and really sped up there, just looking at the top of the window there. So we're just going to get the power back even more. Try and keep that speed under control, because boy, this turbulence is really kind of killing her. Yeah, so that's all in there. And let's just make sure that the other ones on the star are there as well. And let me just get rid of some of this stuff we don't need anymore because we're no longer going to Vancouver. So the CCAB 4 is pretty straightforward. Almom at or above 9,800. Vivek at 9,500. Hard altitude, max 210 knots. Vilmo and Ambat at 8,000, which I believe was what we already had in there because that's where the approach started. Actual descent clearance will be as directed by ATC. Aircraft planning, RNAV, the mandatory altitude of Vivek not applicable. RNAV Zulus, not us because we're not doing any of the approaches to 1.6. So the Vivek altitude is applicable to us. So there we go. So I think that is it there for that. So the RNAV runway 34, we've checked all the waypoints. 12-21, 15 November 2019, 359 is the final approach course. SMA at Savap 3200, and the RNAV DA 1806 if we're doing RNAV 1, 1872 if we're doing RNAV 2. So 1806, let's get this over there, and let's get this turned on, and we gotta wind this all the way up to 1800, and this is a real pain in the butt in this airplane now too. This is one of the few things that's really annoying, is that you can't click on this and click on it because it just turns it off. It's just the push function. Probably we already need to start down, don't we? So let's get this up to 1810 and let's start down. Because this is a fast flight and I don't want to be high on this approach. Okay, there we go. Alright, so 1810. Not that. Let's see here. Wow, yeah, we need to start down already. Whoops. 16,000 feet per minute to meet our next restriction. So let's see here. Even 5,700 feet per minute. We're going to basically just pull it to idle and get the maximum descent we can get going out of this thing here. If I can get 4,000, that'll definitely help. And we'll get our... let's see here. 9,500 is our first restriction here. Oops, that's the wrong bug. So 9,500 should do it. It's a really quick descent now at 5,000 feet per minute. That's a really fast flight. Let's see here. Okay, so The other thing we need, of course, is just a VREF speed of 138. So we got that in mind, 138. Sorry, I'm just not answering the chat because I'm just trying to get this all set up and make sure I have everything set up here. But we've got the MDA. We don't need the ILS frequencies, so I think we're good in that respect. We're still okay on the speed here. We're kind of catching up with our vertical profile, which is good. And let's see here. Let's just do a descent check really quick. Landing elevation set. Again, we got 1,300 feet set. Fuel checked, so we got 8,300. According to my flight plan, we need to get back to Vancouver. We're going to need 3,400, so we got tons of fuel even based on our current rate of progress here. We're going to get there with like... That doesn't have the calculation. Anywho, we should get there with plenty of fuel in the tank still. We got 8 tons. We got nearly double what we need to get back to Vancouver. TCAS will set to below. TCAS is set. Radar is off. CAS is checked. I never disarmed those. I never did the after takeoff check, did I? Which means this is still running as well. My bad. I'll get those off now. Landing data is set and approach briefing will say is completed. And now we gotta lessen our rate of descent here because we're about to overspeed. We're pretty much at idle, so it's as good as we can do. Have I decided if Twitch or YouTube's better? I still haven't decided, and I don't know. One thing is YouTube definitely makes revenue sharing a little bit easier. So that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of sticking with YouTube a little bit more for some of the other streams, but I don't want to disappoint the Twitch following that I've built as well, so it's kind of, you know, I'm sort of still stuck on the fence. I haven't made up my mind either way that I'm going to commit to one platform or the other. Right now I'm kind of leaning towards YouTube. Twitch has got some really nice tools. It really does. Yeah, their revenue sharing monitoring is terrible. It's hard to keep track of how much money you've made anywhere. Alright, so we're going to be high at Pilma, but once we get past Pilma, we should be okay here. Alright, we're getting there, we're getting there. And once we land, it's... Okay, did I finish the briefing? I kind of was half through it. There's a lot of notes here on this one here. We did set the MDA, 1360, or the airport's at 1420, 8,800 feet's the MSA, all sectors. It's high terrain, all sectors. Missed approach is track 339 straight ahead to Optov, and then climbing right turn to 8,000, track 020 to Leaner. And requires a minimum climb gradient 400 feet per nautical mile to fit 200. Restricted approach procedure authorizations required. We'll say we have that. Radius to fix required. I hope this airplane can fly RF legs. Procedures RNP point requires RNP 0.20 at the minimum. Uncorrected FAF crossing altitude may cause GBWS warnings below -5. Good to know. 100 miles safe is 12.5. Aircraft weight should not be greater than necessary to meet the published climb gradient. Computing aircraft weight corrections for pressure, altitude, ambient temperature. ILS features not coincident with the RNAV glide path. Procedure not authorized for aircraft with wingspans greater than 118 feet. For uncompensated barrel VNAV systems, procedure not authorized below -25. So I think we'll meet that restriction. I'm pretty sure that we don't have that wide of a wingspan. All right, and we made it to. And I've lost track of what my restrictions are here on the star. 9,500 at Vivek. So yeah, so we're at 9,500. We're over speed though because we should be down at 250 when we got below 10. But I can't distract it by just doing so much here, just trying to keep up with this airplane. So there's 250 knots, so we're almost there, and we're below 10. So let's get the landing lights on. We'll turn that off for now, and let's cycle the seat belts so the flight attendants know to prepare for landing. And there we go. All right. Whew. That is a busy flight, especially single pilot, trying to keep on top of all of this and get it all done. But we made it down, so we're going to make a right turn here shortly, and Kelowna is in, I think, this next valley here. We just have to turn and follow the valley down to do our approach here. I believe there might be a speed restriction up here as well. I'm going to pull my charts up and leave them on the other screen now. It's max 210 knots at FIVX, so yeah, let's keep going down in the speed here. Are we at idle? No, not even close. Okay, so 210 knots is the speed at FIVX, and that'll help make it easier to also control everything that's going on by keeping it at a more regular speed. Let's see here. If I turn on, all right. If we go MFD menu and we can turn on the VNAV, that'll help just have more information up on the screen. Kelowna traffic, good morning. Jazz 8414 is 15 miles west of the field. Be commencing the RNAV Zulu runway 34 in about 3 minutes, estimating the field in about 10 minutes. So yeah, it's just over here in this next valley, but we just have to fly this approach up the valley. We could probably disconnect and fly VFR, but I want to see if this thing can fly the approach. The nice thing is that it's VMC, and if it screws up, I can deal with it. I could take over from the airplane. Where can you find a posted schedule? And you know what, here's the thing, is I don't normally post a schedule because I never a lot of times my flights are kind of spontaneous. I have a hard time sometimes knowing when I'm going to be able to find time to stream, but I appreciate that you guys want to see a schedule, so I'm going to see if I can start maybe posting at least a day in advance what I've planned on my YouTube channel. I think I'll do that for now, and I may open up a Discord where I'll just have a list of streaming times and dates as well. So I don't know for sure that that's going to happen, but I will do my best to try and get something out there for you guys to see. 8,000. Alright, so we're going to maintain 210 knots now here, and we're going to go down to 8,000, and let's just let it settle a little bit. It might, yeah, 1,000 feet per minute is going to get us 8,000, pretty much right at AMBAT. Perfect, love it. The Kelowna airport, I think it's right over there, or it's hiding right behind that hill, somewhere like that. Wow, perfect. I love it, though. I'm glad that it's a VFR day so you can see everything that's going on out here, because wow, what a nice approach this is. It looks like it's drawing the curved legs properly here, so I'm hoping it'll fly them correctly. We're a little bit fast. That's 9,000 descending 8,000. Next altitude after that will be 7,000. So it looks like we're going to hit that AMBAT pretty much at 8. So I'm going to go ahead and set 7 for the next altitude. What's annoying is that the VNAV does not seem to want to work. It's not got the star drawn in there, so we're literally just going to be stepping down here, not going to be following necessarily a smooth path. So all I'm using is the vertical speed mode, and just using the little thumb wheel here, which controls the actual rate. The one nice thing is, of course, you get this pink arc drawn on here, which indicates at what point, based on your current rate of descent, you're going to level off at your target altitude. So you can kind of put that right onto your fixes to try and hit them just at the right altitude. So it's more or less 7,000 feet at Pendo, pretty close. I think one thing I'll start doing now is we're going to just start configuring the airplane a little bit. So flaps 1, and let's get the speed back to 200, because I do believe we have a speed restriction on this approach of 180 knots at one of these fixes. 190 knots at Zudfo, which is at the end of the turn there, so we got to start slowing this thing down a little bit. Might back off the vertical rate just a hair, because we're now going slower. Ooh, pretty. So busy trying to fly this airplane, I'm not enjoying the view, that's for sure. Too busy just trying to get everything under control here. Alright, let's get the speed back to 190 now. We are going to level off here. We're a little bit ahead of Pendo, so we're going to have to do a level off here. Alright, there's speed 190 bugged. 7,000 feet it's capturing, so the next altitude at Zudvo is 5,600. And we just gotta, there's Pendo right there, perfect. One thing you can use in the CRJs, you can use the direct intercept menu to show you what your required vertical rates are for different descents that you gotta do. So it says 1,200 feet per minute is the next required descent rate, and that's pretty consistent, so that's what I've got set now, VS minus 1.2. 66 for 56. It looks like it's flying the curved arc really nicely here. It's following it around perfectly, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. Just a nice constant turn. And let's go ahead and get flaps 8 just to help keep the speed under control. There's no further speed restrictions on this, so the deceleration will be for our discretion after that, but it's going to be 138. Yeah, manual's very tiring, especially single pilot. Doing this all manually, like a real FMS with a proper VNAV system, you'd be able to just sort of arm it like a glide slope and it would just chase it down the whole way. But this FMS does not allow that. So 5,000 is the next one. Sync the heading bug up again here. So now we just sort of fly along this valley, and there's, you can see the approach lights in the distance. That's the airport over there. So we're just going to continue to fly this approach little by little. $4,400, and 4,400's got to be here, so we got to start increasing our rate of descent again. We're a little bit high. We're at 1.4, so that should be more than good enough. But we're slowly making it around the corner there. So she does fly the curved radius to fix approaches really nicely. I don't notice it. I notice a discon from SaveUp to Voback, and that's weird. Save up to Voback. There's appears to be the arc's not drawn on there. Okay, so let's start getting the speed back a little more. Let's go 170. Let's go gear down. And 3,800 is the next altitude. Or is it 30? Yeah, 38. Yeah, constantly really working this thing to try and get it down. And I'm going to have to disengage at some point, just hand fly. So we got the gear down. Let's go flaps 20. We got the speed back to about 170. This is actually working out okay. Alright, and I think at this point we're probably just going to disconnect and hand fly because it's just getting to be too much work here to try and pop in all these altitudes. We got one last altitude of save up at 32. Yeah, I think at this point it's just easier to just do this. So 139, so we're going to set our VREF of 149. And it's capturing the altitude, so I'm just going to disengage the autopilot and hand fly at this point. Let's go ahead and get those thrust reversers armed again. I can see the airport, so let's just continue coming around here, and let's just do a flap. That's flap 30. And let's go full flap, flap 45. That really does add the drag, though. You got to add a lot of power to counteract that. That's one thing I've noticed in this airplane. It needs a lot of power to counteract that drag. Okay, before landing check, flight attendants, cabin crew seats for departure. Correction, cabin crew seats for landing. Passenger signs are on. And then I added a good amount of power there. Thrust reversers are armed. Confirmed on the CAS. Landing gear is down and flaps are 45. Landing checklist is complete. Kelowna traffic, Jazz 8414 is turning a 4-mile final runway 35. I think it's 4 miles anyways. Too busy trying to fly here, and I think what we'll do is out because it just makes it easier to have the speed a little bit bigger here in the corner of my screen. Whoa, 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 whoa. Easy, easy, girl. Alright. But nice to know that the RNAV approach does work. I wouldn't want to fly this down to minimum single pilot though. That'd be a hell of a lot of work trying to do this down a minimum single pilot, especially because you don't have VNAV protection. So the VNAV doesn't actually give you guidance, so you have to put in all the altitudes at every fix manually to make sure you don't descend early. If you had VNAV protection, if you're actually on a VNAV path, then the VNAV would hit all the fixes for you. But because you don't have that, if you don't put on all the altitudes and you get below an altitude, there's a lot of terrain out here for you to hit. There's tons of terrain out here for you to hit. Okay, just see the Vazzies there, and we're a little bit low. Got a good strong wind from the left. So just trying to compensate for it a little bit here. Oh, and then the speed came back while I wasn't watching.
300. 200.
She's going to be a floater because of the extra speed we're carrying for the wind.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Whoa. That wind really caught that wing there. Alright, we got reverse thrust. And we got auto brakes. Or we got no auto brakes, but we got brakes. There. Woo! That was a heck of an approach. That was a hell of a lot of workload. Whoo!
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
Now I'll let you look around and enjoy the scenery. We can get rid of this here. Wow. That was a hell of a lot of work. Ooh, I knew this was going to be a lot of work when I did this flight. So, thanks guys for the encouraging words. That felt like a really kind of nasty approach at the end there. So this is now FSimStudios Kelowna, and I gotta say, just the initial look, it does look nice. Buildings look very unique and distinctive. Tons of airplanes parked around here too. That's one thing I noticed. I did take a minor look around, and they got lots of static aircraft parked here, which I'm cool with because sometimes the airports feel so empty. Even like a trailer there. Alright, let's just get this turned onto the taxiway, and then we can go ahead and get everything cleaned up here. Kelowna traffic, Jazz 8414 is clear of runway 34, taxiing to the terminal. Strobe off, and we can get the flaps up. Thrust reversers disarmed again. Alright, and after landing check, APU, we're not going to put on quite yet because the terminal's all the way at the far end there. Transponder, we probably don't need it on. We could probably kill it. At this point, transponder is off. Flaps are up, indicated. Lights and strobes, so we got landing lights and strobes are off, and probes off as well. A nice collection of aircraft here. Some of these static models are really quite nice too. They got this grass. Looks like conveyors and everything parked over here, which is really kind of nice. There we go. Whew. Still the palms are a little sweaty from that approach because that just felt... That was a hell of a lot of work anyways to get that done. This is not your standard ILS down to minimums. It's that curving RNAV with lots of different step-down fixes in there. Oh, what a lot of work. But totally worth it. That was totally fun too. And the scenery here is just spectacular. And Microsoft Flight Simulator does a fantastic job with it too. It just looks so nice out here. You know, and it's funny, I went back and I looked at the video and I never did spot the near miss, and I put it into fast forward and I still have not seen it, because I can't figure out exactly when our conversation took place now. Now it's long gone from Twitch, so I never did figure out where that near miss was. But it's funny, because for all that big open sky, you don't usually get... The odds of you actually flying near another airplane are pretty slim. I mean, it's not impossible, and obviously it does happen from time to time, but yeah. I was even noticing this just when I was controlling last... was it yesterday or the day before? You know, it's pretty quiet sometimes when you're controlling, and the odds of you actually having a near miss, even while you're controlling, are or not a near miss, but having you know, having airplanes close enough that you actually have to take some steps to resolve a conflict is usually pretty rare. It doesn't happen very often. There's just not enough traffic out there on the VATSIM network, and they're just going different places. So it doesn't happen too often. Tons of WestJet airplanes. FSimStudios has got quite a lot of nice WestJet airplanes parked here. So this is... But I gotta say, like, this scenery feels really good. Even the grass. Like, it feels like you could reach out there and just touch the grass. It looks soft and fuzzy. The texturing is nice. And yet it doesn't impact the frame rate greatly. Which is the big important thing, too. Is, like, you want to make sure that the frame rate is not being... impacted too much by adding this much detail, but Microsoft Flight Simulator allows so much level of detail without causing great frame rate impacts. A little company Dash 8 there. And here we are at the terminal. Not going to turn on there because that's not a taxiway, that's just a little roadway from the fire station there to get the fire trucks out on the runway. There's the control tower over there in the trees. What a nice scenery, I gotta say. Alright, so let's find a place to park here. Looks like the APU, I think, should be... Yeah, the APU should be online any second. There it is, it's available. Alright, let's find a place to park. I don't know if Turkish Airlines is necessarily a particularly realistic airplane here. That, I'm pretty sure, is being generated by Microsoft Flight Simulator. Like, that whole WestJet hangar area, I think is all static aircraft, but I think this is the dynamic airplane, because I don't think FSimStudios would put a Turkish Airlines in Kelowna. Alright, let's see if I go to any of these gates. Do I get a marshaller? Yeah, I think I see a marshaller hiding behind the tug there, so let's go ahead and... taxi light is off. Good. Let's park here at gate 4. And even like the texturing of the lines here looks really good. It did a little bit. You see a little bit of kind of pixelation of them, but overall impact really, really nice here. And yep, marshaller's doing his job. Marshalling us in. Good, good. So often you get to a gate and it's hard to find gates at the airport that already have marshalers set up. So it's nice to see a gate that has marshalers already ready and waiting for me. That's something else I miss about Microsoft Flight Simulator. I loved at GSX. You could pick the gate you wanted, and then you could put a marshaller in it. And it would put a marshaller there for you, and you could get marshaled in at any gate you wanted. You pick the gate, and it marshal you in. So I really love that effect. And it's something that's coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it's often missing. Don't want to hit the tug. And very nicely done. Woo! There we go. Yeah, someone needs to bring a Dash 8 to Microsoft Flight Simulator. That'd be a fantastic airplane when it happens. Okay, so we get that to idle. Let's actually just do this first. Electric, yeah, the APU is handling load. Because the other thing we need to do is just the opposite fuel pump test. So with engine number 2 shut down, we should get right fuel pressure low. We do. And with that, we can shut down the left engine as well. Beacon off. Seatbelts off. And I think that's everything. And nose wheel steering off. That's the one I always forget. There we go. Nose wheel steering off. I'm getting better. Getting better with time. Shutdown check. Parking brake is on. Seatbelts are off. Thrust levers shut off. Anti-ice all off. Fuel pumps off. Beacon off. And nose wheel steering's off. And let's go ahead and call that bridge over. Nice. And actually, before it gets here, we have to open the door. No, open the door quickly before the bridge hits you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the
Perfect.
please make your way to the exit and please make sure you have all your personal
All right.
items and carry-on
There we
bags.
go. And we are here. We can even put the chocks in place. We can put a ground power cart on the airplane. Here comes the ground power. I didn't even notice that. Look at that. Look at the detail here at this airport. They actually have the Air Canada stock GPU card as well. Like, it's... I have to say that FSimStudios has done a really nice job with this airport. It looks really quite good. Very immersive, except of course for the clipping here out of the jet bridge, but otherwise very immersive experience here. As we dock here in Kelowna, a very well done airport. I gotta say, I like the scenery here. Looks really good. And let's just have a quick look around because, yeah, it really does look very nice. Why am I not able to get this to work today? I had to work the other day. Nope, for some reason it does not want to work at all. I was going to try and pan around the airport and have a little look around, but for some reason I can't get it to work. Okay, for some reason the drone does not want to work today. What the heck? Oh well. Strange. I don't know why it's not working. I wanted to take a little sail around Kelowna here because it's a really nice airport, but for some reason it just does not want to work, so I don't know why. Strange. I was playing with it the other day. Oh well. Anyways. The important thing is that we made it, guys, and that was tons of fun. And again, just what a beautiful airplane at a beautiful airport, beautiful scenery. This looks really well done, like really well detailed. I took a little glance around it earlier, but this is the first time I've actually flown into Kelowna with the FSimStudios, and it looks really good. You guys have done a really nice job. And again, like with every other airport, the blending, I talk about it a lot, but it really is really important because it really just, rather than make it feel like the airport is an artificial artifact that's just pasted on the landscape, it makes it feel like it's a part of the landscape when it blends in nicely, and that's one of the things that it does really well. Microsoft Flight Simulator does it well in general, is that the tones of all the underlying scenery are all the same. So it looks really good. Just as a curiosity too, let's just play with this and into night mode, and let's see here. Ooh. And she does look good. Oh, good. Lots of lighting at the terminals. The runways are dark, but lots of lighting in the terminals. Even the parking lot's got various lamp posts. Oh, that looks really good at night too. And the building, see a little bit of light in the windows. Building's a little bit plain at night without windows lit so much, but overall the effect is very nice. Certainly there's a nice amount of light on the apron. It's not overwhelming, but it's light. There's obviously lighting happening in the parking lot, so that looks pretty good as well. So that looks really nice as well. But yeah, what a perfect day to fly to Kelowna. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned as always to the channels, and we'll have some more live streams soon. I don't know what to do next with this airplane. When I post this video on there, you can go ahead and put some suggestions for next flights to do. I really want to take advantage of good quality scenery, though I don't want just default airports unless they're some really nicely enhanced airports, but I'm looking for some other places to fly to. I might do some flying around Quebec, because there's some really great airports in Quebec. But yeah, I don't know what to do next as far as just flying the CRJs around, but it's a fun airplane. And otherwise, there will be another stream of A Pilot's Life coming really soon. I was going to actually do that on Friday, and then things unfortunately got derailed, so that didn't happen. But probably this Friday, we'll do the next leg of A Pilot's Life. But in the meantime, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And as always, stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll see everybody real soon.